trade deadline, you talked about adding a guy like Miko and how there are maybe only 10 or so players at his caliber that you can add. You guys really haven't had someone quite at that level. Now having him and with him playing the way he is, does that change the identity of the team at all? And does that change kind of the responsibilities and what you're expecting of the guys around him?
Yeah. It's a good question. It definitely changes things, when you have a guy like that, a star player. It changes a little bit of the identity of your team. I think we've been built around 4 lines and kind of waves of pressure and work. Probably liken it more to like a Carolina type identity. I think when you add a player like that, you have to take on a little bit of a different identity. You have to coach your team a little bit differently. You have to get them out there more. I think that's the challenge, is to integrate him and build around that without losing, what's made us successful here. And I think it took a while, I think there were some bumps there trying to find that line, but I think we understand that now.
You've got a handful of guys that are used to producing at a higher rate that aren't. Do you look at that as a concern, or is that like, hey, look how far we've gotten without these guys, wait till they start inevitably scoring?
Well, used to producing at a rate in the regular season. The playoffs are always a different animal. So I don't think you can compare. They're not even the same conversation, how you produce during the regular season and what you do in the playoffs. And really, I don't think it matters. I think all that matters this time of year is winning. So, we can say that, why isn't Matt Duchene point a game? Why isn't, but I don't think it's applicable. I think that, we talked about the other day, Misha Donskoff's on our staff, won a Stanley Cup. And I want to make sure I get the stat right, so if I don't get it right, don't hold it against me. But I thought he was telling us that Jonathan Marchessault won the Conn Smythe, didn't score a goal the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. So, the stats don't matter this time of year.
So you're happy with Duchene's play?
I am, yeah.
Play?
Yeah, I'm happy with everybody. We're still alive, and we're up in a series, and we're winning, and I know those guys are going to come through when we need them at different points.
You mentioned last night Miko being on a mission, which was a great line.
Yeah.
Thank you for it.
Yeah.
How would you define that mission, curiously?
Well, I think when you think about his journey this year, he's been through a lot, and there's been a lot written about him. There's been a lot said about him. There's been a lot of doubters, out there. Based on the situations he's been in and how it's looked at different points. So, I think there's a lot of motivation there.
Pete, you mentioned a bit last night Thomas Hartley and his contributions in the playoffs with Miro out, but just kind of the defense as a whole and what they've been able to accomplish, in this early going here in the postseason with Miro out.
Yeah, what incredible. I mean. We were just talking in there today, the fact that we're in the situation we're in without basically those 2 guys. Robo's back now. He's still not back to where but he's getting closer. But without Miro, I think, it's been exceptional what our group's done. And it's not just the defense core, but, there's some great stories in there. The Petrovic-Bichel pair, I think, has been outstanding, gotten better and better every night. Harley filling in for the hole Miro left on the power play, huge hole. He came in and did that seamlessly. The rest of our group, Cody Ceci playing the minutes he's playing, in a top 2 pairing. There's a lot of great stories in there, and the reason we're still playing where we are, especially drawing, the Colorado Avalanche and now the President's Trophy winning Winnipeg Jets. So, there's a lot of good stories in there.
Update on Miro?
No, scheduled day off today, and we'll go back at it tomorrow.
Just want to flesh out something you said last night. I'm looking for color, not X's and O's.
Mhm.
Like you said, these guys will take hard coaching,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're like, I think the example you gave was Jamie Benn. Are you talking about like watching film as a team and signaling out a guy? Like what are you describing there? Like, can you give an example?
Yeah, I think all those things. I think in film, in our meetings, between periods, it's impossible. It's impossible not to move your team forward without constructive criticism. And as a coach, you have to get a feel for your group. Is how hard can that constructive criticism be, and how honest and how forthright can you be with the group? And obviously, the more honest and forthright you can be with your group, the quicker you can get it fixed, and you're not wasting time, soft pedaling around it. And some groups can't handle that or don't handle that well. Our group does, and that's a testament to the leadership.
Is it more important in the playoffs because there's so much on the line? You're making adjustments, probably more.
Yeah, you've got to get it fixed quickly. Like you've got, we've got less. We had between game 2 and 3, we had, we didn't have a practice. We traveled and played in the afternoon. So, you don't have time to sugarcoat and things like that. You want to cut to the meat of it and get it fixed. And sometimes, those aren't pleasant conversations. But, our group's been great with that.
Did you expect to have Miro back by now? Do you think you'd have him back by now?
What did I said second round, right? So I expect him. I'm still sticking by what I projected, that we would see him in the second round.
Duchene mentioned that losing a player of Miro's caliber is like losing 2 to 3 of your top forwards. Do you see it the same way, and if so, why?
Well, I don't think you have to look much further than across the rink at Morrissey, out of their lineup, and all of a sudden he's back in, and the things he's doing on the ice with the puck, defending, things like that, and just it changes the way your team plays. So, different situation, and again, I want to temper Miro coming back. Morrissey was out for 2 games. Miro's been out for 3.5 months.
Forgetting if this is compromised, like, is it with Miro, is it something you're looking for? Is it something you want to hear from him? Is it the medical staff? Like, what is the?
It's all of those things.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Pete, you had mentioned a few times about Alain Nasruddin and the job
Mhm.
of the penalty kill on the defense. What does he bring to the mix of the coaching staff, and what's his ceiling as a coach?
Yeah. Oh, I think Naz has been a head coach in the NHL, and I think he's destined to be a head coach again in the NHL. I think he's in my mind, he's a head coach all day long. Guy who played at the NHL level, but has a great ability to teach the game too, and communicate it and connect with players. So that's always what you're looking for, I think, in any type of coach.
How does that work with the penalty kill and what he does with that?
Well, he heads up our penalty kill. I mean, he's in charge of it, and that's kind of a specialty of his all the way back to when he was in New Jersey.
Coach, go ahead.
What did you like about how your group played in front of Hellebuck, and did you notice any differences?
Yeah.
For him?
Yeah, I thought we made it tougher on him last night. I thought we had more traffic and more direct play with the puck. So we've got to continue to build on that.
The Jets haven't won a road playoff game in a couple of years. You notice anything different about how they played last night compared to the 2 games at home?
No, not really. I mean, that was if I take off my Dallas hat and just look at that game from the outside, I mean, it's a 2-2 game in the third period. That's a pretty good road game by that team, I think, up until we kind of opened it up there in the last 10 minutes.
You talk a lot about the belief and leadership and what that does to respond after a loss or a tough game. How does that come into play now in this scenario to not have a dip when you try to win 2 in a row?
Well, that's what we have to do. We know, again, I think in a series you want to keep putting the other team under that must-win pressure, and I think no one wants to fall behind by 2 games. We put them under that pressure after game 1, and they responded. We're putting them under that pressure again tomorrow. You know, and hopefully, I know they're going to respond, and hopefully our game is a little better than it was in game 2 when we had them in this spot.
When it comes to desperation, is there anything different that they do, X's and O's wise, or is it literally just
Yeah.
more energy, a little more focus?
Yeah, no, I think it's, you know, I don't think it's X and O's. It's not X and O's when you get this deep and you've played the same team this many times.
Pete, forgive the 9,000 question about Miro
Yeah.
the last few weeks, but when he does return, are there limitations to how much time he can be on the ice, restrictions, anything in play there?
Well, I don't think there's specific restrictions, but, you know, we're not going to put him out on the ice for 30 minutes his first game back in 3 months. So, I mean, we'll have to be smart about that.
Circling back to your depth on the penalty kill, I think Oscar was actually one of your leading minute forwards on the PK.
Yeah.
You take him out, you put Colin in, and it seems like they're interchangeable parts and they
Yeah.
understand, and obviously those 2 guys, they're good penalty killers.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you can just make that flip and go 4 for 4 again.
Yeah. Yeah, Naz has got a big pool of guys there that he works with that understand it, including some guys we haven't used that are going to get some reps here, you know, that have been used on it, haven't been recently, Sagan, Ben, you know, that are probably going to have an opportunity to get back into that mix too, but have experience in that. We've used a lot of players over the 3 years here in that situation.
And you look at those 2 power plays, those are 2 of the best in the league regular season that you've gone against so far.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know what? Listen, our special teams have been a difference maker for us this year in the playoffs, and they have to continue to be.
Pete, you mentioned Alex Petrovic and Liam Bischel and that deep pairing. Neil Graham has also had a lot of success, you know, fostering some of the young talent here in Dallas. How important is it, his coaching, building quality players for you guys in your play?
Yeah, that staff down there has done an exceptional job. You know, they've done a good job of winning, which is important. You know, to be able to develop and still win games and develop, you know, a lot of good young players. You know, if you look at our roster, we've got a lot of guys that have spent significant time down there and are contributing for us.
When the opposing
We'll do one more question here, guys.
When the opposing goalie is a nominee for the President for the Hart,
Yeah.
do your guys relish that challenge of perhaps trying to knock him off that perch a little bit more than average?
I don't think anyone's relishing playing against Connor Hellebuck. I think we're dealing with it the best we can.
Great, thanks, Pete.
Yeah. You got one more? All right. Well, you had one.
It's evergreen. It's about time.
All right.
It's evergreen. They'll be around. Thanks, Pete.